Alrighty folks, welcome to another episode of Gaming Noob. Oh, I'd like to make a special video today. I kind of want to do a little ode to the Yamaha CP2. This is an engine that I love very much. I have loved it for a very long time. I think it's very good. I want to talk about what makes it so good, what makes it unique, and how it set the tone for so much of what happened in the 10 years since it was launched. Give you guys a little history lesson. This is a really, really cool engine. And of course, the MT-07 is in its natural habitat here on a little dirt offshoot. I was doing some very important testing with it. Certainly didn't make my way down there. No. Would never do that. Not with a giveaway bike. Let's hear the old CP2, shall we? Unchanged for so long. Cross-platformed. Bike is already warm, folks. Don't worry about it. Let's turn off TC a little bit. Yeah, let's just do that, shall we? I don't think it's much of a Tenere 700, but I can do a little bit with it. All right, let's kick up in a second, and then whew, fun. Get to really hear the damn thing, huh? What a great motor, man. What a fun, peppy, zesty little thing. So I'll tell you guys a story. I bought a FZ07 in 2019 as a giveaway machine, and I had never sampled the CP2 before. And this was at a time when I had been not riding for quite a long time. I had a big accident in 2017, and I was off the bike for like almost a year and a half. And the FZ07 that we did as a giveaway in 2019 was kind of really like it was like a rebirth of riding for me. I've never talked about this much on the channel, but it was almost like I had to restart riding motorcycles in a way, because I hadn't ridden for so long, and because of the nasty accident that I had to really reapproach riding in a lot of ways. Because I already had a lot of experience at that point, probably about 3 years of riding experience, it wasn't like I was starting from ground zero. However, it was a great place for me to like relearn that muscle memory, relearn the familiarity of riding, and just enjoy riding again. And so I think part of me will always feel a sort of joyful gratefulness to the CP2 for giving me some of that original riding feeling back, and being a platform that is just really fun and enjoyable and usable. You guys can go back and watch some of my videos on the FZ07, and that was before it was even named the MT-07 here in America, and I had so much fun with the bike. Really enjoyable, really loved using it. So that was kind of my experience with it back in the day. That was where I first started, using the CP2, seeing what it could do. And I think this engine is just so special in motorcycling. It was released as kind of, I wouldn't say an afterthought when the FZ09 came out, but it was certainly kind of like like we also got this bike too. The FZ09 was the big deal in 2013, and for the 2014 model year, this bike debuted alongside it. And this engine, I really believe it just set the tone for everything that would come in the next 10 years after it was launched. You look at all the 270-degree parallel twins that have been spawned after this machine, and you tell me this bike didn't set the tone for an entire decade's worth of motorcycling. And I think it's so cool now that we have this updated and refined version of it, because it just really is the trendsetter in my opinion. And I really think it did take a manufacturer like Yamaha to do that, because Yamaha makes tremendous motorcycles, man. They make excellent engines and excellent frames. Some people bemoan their perceived lack of quality. I think some people think that the build quality of Yamahas are a little suspect. I can't say I don't disagree. They used to feel pretty bargain basement cheap around the edges, but man, they were such good engines and frames that you could forgive them for that. One of the characteristics about the CP2 that was also a trendsetter in my opinion was that it could be cross-platformed, and it could work virtually unchanged in 3 extremely distinct applications. So the CP2, here in North America, there's actually 4 applications overseas, but here in America, we get the MT-07 with this engine, the 689cc parallel twin. You get the R7 exact same engine, nothing changed, they don't do anything to it. And then you also get the Tenere 700, same motor, unchanged. So you might say, how is it that this engine just works so well in 3 very distinct categories of bike? And then of course overseas you guys also have the Tracer 7, which is an awesome sport touring version of the CP2. And I think the reason that it does this so well is because if you look at the dyno graph of this motor, in my opinion, it is sort of like an ideal horsepower and torque line graph. The CP2 has a basically completely flat torque curve and a horsepower curve that's basically Y equals X, going up at a perfect 45-degree angle. That gives you an engine that is extremely flexible. It can be revved out very nicely to its red line because it's going to make linear power throughout the entire rev range, but it has nice snap down low, good torque down low, which is exactly what you want in an adventure styled motorcycle, right? On an adventure bike, you want a bike that has nice power down low so you can wrap your way around the little trails and stuff, slide the rear around, rotate the bike underneath you. And then on a sport bike, you want linear accessible power and torque to drive off an apex, to access all the power at the top end. And on top of that, basically since its inception, and I'm sure they've made minor tweaks and updates, this is one of the most bulletproof engines in all of motorcycling. I do not know of anything that has gone wrong with these bikes that has warranted a recall. I've not heard of anyone doing something with this machine where they were like, oh, you know, this is a common issue with the CP2, like you gotta look out for this, you gotta look out for that. I've never heard of anything that happens with this machine, and that's really crazy. You know, Yamaha definitely builds some bulletproof bikes, but I really think the CP2, because it's a little bit more simple, because it's not a super stressed engine, you know, it tends to be pretty darn bulletproof. You know, I think the first production year of the Aprilia RS660, which is another fantastic engine, right? That 660 mil from Aprilia, revs out, really beautiful handling, just really nice engine. You know, that had some teething issues on the first production year. Not this bike, man. And it makes less peak power, and so having a slightly under-stressed engine like that is fantastic. You don't want a motor that is chock to the gills, pumping out as much power as possible, because also the thing that's great about this bike is it runs cool as a top, dude. This engine, because it doesn't make a lot of peak power, it just ends up running really beautifully, really nice, and not too hot either. So it's kind of crazy. I really think the MT-07 was possibly the first of these cross-platform parallel twin 270-degree crank bikes. There was nothing that came before it that would have suggested that. Sure, cross-platforming had existed for a while, but not to the extent that the MT-07 does it, you know? This motorcycle truly sets the tone for the cross-platforming capabilities of this machine. It's very impressive how this engine just fits in so many different applications and works really well too. The other great thing about it too, as I mentioned, you know, it was kind of my reintroduction into motorcycling after the big accident that I had. This is an engine that works really well for beginner plus, right? That entry-level category that wants something a little bit more plus size, a little bit more powerful. It's fantastic, man. It's such a great engine. It works super well. The other really cool thing about this engine, because it's Yamaha that made it, right, is they have these acoustically tuned little sonic holes near the gas tank. And because Yamaha obviously has prowess building musical instruments, they've made it so that the MT-07 has a little bit of that musical characterful charm out of it, you know? Acoustically enhancing the intake sound of it rather than the exhaust, working within what it can do, right? Like, it's not very loud, obviously, but you can hear it when you get on the boil, which is a lot of fun. So I'm not sure what the future of this engine looks like. It's been around, like I said, virtually unchanged for about 10 years. I think Yamaha, because they just updated this MT-07, they're probably going to do an update for the Yamaha R7 as well. And I could certainly see, maybe in about 4 to 5 years after this current product life cycle of the new MT-07, maybe a new R7, you know, gets updated, you could see a slight bump up in displacement for the CP2 to keep up with the Euro 5 emissions and stuff. You could maybe see a 750-ish cc version of this motor to compete with the Hornet 750, because if that bike ever does make it stateside, that is some stiff competition for the MT-07. You know, people often shop the spec sheet, and that bike does make more peak power than the MT-07, and I think the MT-07 is going to start to have to maybe make a little bit more peak power, be a little bit different. But honestly, it doesn't need to be changed. I've been riding this platform for so long, you know. Since 2019, I've sampled so many different iterations of the CP2. I've ridden the Tenere 700. I gave away an R7. I've given away like 4 or 5 different MT-07 variant motorcycles. Like I said, I gave away an FZ-07, 2 MT-07s, an XSR 700, and yeah, now this one. So that's 5 different CP2 powered motorcycles. That's a lot, you know? That's not nothing. And it's a testament to this engine that in all those configurations, it's still fun. After all these years, it's still playful, it's still interesting, and just a really great motor overall, man. It'll be curious to see when it gets updated and changed and revised. It has to eventually. I mean, the tried and true 847cc CP3 from the FZ09 got updated to the 890, then it got updated again, then some changes and revisions. This thing's been the same for so long. So obviously it's good, you know? It works really well, it's good, it's just a great engine, and I just wanted to make this ode to the CP2. Of course, if you made it this far in the video, you do know that this MT-07 is a giveaway bike on yamanoob.co. Hit that link down below, support the show. We're one of the largest independent motorcycle media channels on YouTube. We're not beholden to any sponsors, we're not beholden to any corporate interests, and when you sign up as a member on yamanoob.co, you're supporting a great small business that supports other people as well too. It's not just me running this show. I got people on the back end helping me out, working for me, and you know, we give away these bikes as our way of saying thanks to you. So join the many members on yamanoob.co. Join the 55 other lucky people who have won a free motorcycle from your Papa Yam. I think I've bought close to like $600,000 worth of giveaway bikes. So this has been a lot of fun for me, and I'm glad that we're able to give back to the community as well too. So thanks so much for checking out today's video and the ode to the CP2. I hope you appreciated the show. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Keep watching Yami Noob.